Welcome to Maddie's Monthly Foster Connection, a monthly webcast where we can learn about topics of interest to those of us who are interested in starting or expanding foster programs. Our guest today is Stephanie Jackson. Stephanie Jackson is a dynamic advocate of animal welfare, celebrated in Louisville and beyond for her transformative work with Louisville Metro Animal Services. As the Public Information Officer, Stephanie brings stories of the shelter to life, sharing their triumphs, challenges, and the urgent need for community support. Before stepping into her current role, Stephanie spent 7 impactful years as the foster coordinator, where she revitalized a struggling program into a life-saving force. Her innovative field trip foster program, honored by Louisville Magazine as the best hour of your life, exemplifies her creative approach to giving shelter animals a better chance at life. Stephanie's influence extends far beyond the shelter's walls. From pioneering compassionate programs like behavioral hospice and ringworm fostering to advocating for misunderstood dogs, her work has touched countless lives. Her expertise earned national recognition, including a feature from the Associated Press for her role in Mutual Rescue's Doggy Day Out Toolkit. Through continued learning with Maddie's Fund, Stephanie stays at the forefront of the sheltering best practices, traveling the country to improve animal care strategies. Outside of work, Stephanie enjoys spending time with her family, geeking out about all things dog behavior, and diving into her love for music. Her unwavering dedication and creativity make her a true champion for animals and a source of inspiration for her community. Real quick though, I met Stephanie in 2017. She was one of our first apprentices, and she came to the apprenticeship and like usually people would go home and they would try to work on programs or whatever. Literally 2 days after she was back in Louisville, she had started a program and it was like successful. I could not believe the speed and just the motivation that she had. It truly inspiring. So welcome everybody and welcome Stephanie.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, obviously the 2017 was that whole thing, that whole year, that whole experience is why I'm here doing this right now, because Maddie's Fund and because of people like you, Kelly. So I
Thank
am
you.
going to share my screen, I believe. If everybody's ready, we'll just dive in, maybe. Okay. Sorry. This is my first time, so please be gentle with me. I'm a little bit nervous.
No worries. As you can tell, I am always the same way.
All right, we're gonna do it now. Okay, let's do it now. So I want to talk to you about how the hashtag Foster Me Louisville was started and what it means, and kind of all the things that all the things that we're going to talk about today about fostering, about marketing fosters. I'm not going to talk a lot about data. Kelly, don't hate me. Kelly is definitely a
No.
data girly, and I know she is, but that's just not who I am. I am more of, I'm going to tell you my experiences and why I was able to do what I have done. So let's get started. These are all some of our first field trip folks. Kelly touched on a lot of the stuff that I was going to talk about here, so I'm definitely not going to bore you with it. Something a coworker and friend said about me is that Stephanie has never met a bad dog, and that is one of the highest compliments that I've ever received. So I like to tell people about that because it's really important that people see that in me as an animal advocate for, naughty dogs. But besides dogs, I love hanging out with my kids and my partner. We're building a chicken coop to have chickens, and I'm really excited about that. If you have chickens and want to give me some tips, I'm here for it. I also really like music and true crime podcasts. I'm hoping that you are here because you want to save more big dogs. That's really what I want to focus on is how I believe our program did that. So yeah, I am reading from notes, so I'm sorry if I look down a lot, but this is just, I'm a little bit, okay. Um, so I started out as the foster coordinator in 2016, and it was an established foster program, but it didn't send a lot of large dogs out to foster, especially no behavior dogs. So I applied for some apprenticeships with Maddie's Fund, and I received one with Austin Animal Center at the medium large dog foster apprenticeship, and that that apprenticeship changed the trajectory of my animal welfare career, not only because of all the amazing people that I met and the information that I learned, but the validation that I received, knowing that what I believed in my heart that there were other outlets for these dogs that were dying, um, that it was true because other places did it and other people were doing it. And so that's one of the biggest takeaways from that experience. So the medium large dog apprenticeship focused on play groups, behavior fosters. Kelly did a study with her shelter for that. An amazing study. If you haven't checked it out, Kelly should definitely post it for you all to see. I guess I should have done that too, but yes. And day trips and sleepovers, which had the biggest impact on me. Um, and I still hold everything that I learned in that weekend. You know, it's everything I base. It's fundamentally who I am inside. Is that I believe that field trips and fostering save dogs and will save behavior dogs, and that's why I did this program. And I have the little dude pointing at me, and Sarah and Mike Caviani and I don't know who else is in there, but it's a lot of really awesome people that were there that I learned a lot of cool things from. Kelly and Kristen too. Um, let's see. So we started the program in spring of 2017. Like Kelly said, I got back, and the first thing I did, I think I was still on the plane when I was, typing up an email to our director to say, "Hey, I got to talk to you. I've got all these things in my brain that I want to get out, and um, let you make you let me do." Basically, is what I was hoping for. Um, so when I got back, I sat down with them and I had a binder, which Kelly and Kristen always referred to it as your toolkit. Get your toolkit ready when you're going to go talk to your, um, people in power above you that make the decisions, your upper management. Be sure to have all the things together for all the questions they're going to ask. Have the data, have the experience from other shelters just like yours, because we're a municipal shelter. We don't we can't really go on information that maybe a private humane society would. We want to go through the municipality side because we have all the laws and things like that that we need to stay focused on, public safety, those kind of things. So of course you're going to get all the questions about what if a dog bites, and I just had the toolkit to prepare myself for all those questions that our director at the time was going to ask. And to my surprise, he had very little pushback. We started with staff going out first with dogs. So we had dogs that we would list as behavior dogs. Obviously, I'm sure most of you do the same. Staff would take those dogs to a park next door and get a quick experience with them and then bring them back. And that happened quite a few times on staff's lunch breaks. And once that was successful, I think it was like Kelly said, just a couple days, we invited our already established foster and volunteers to come and do a really quick one-on-one orientation with me, which was basically me talking about safety and how to use the tools, which was, the freedom harnesses and stuff you guys can see in these pictures. And once they did that, they signed some paperwork and were on their way. It is, to me, kind of a foolproof program. And if you're not utilizing field trips, days out or sleepovers, and you want to save more dogs, you should stop everything you're doing and do that today. The Doggy Day Out Toolkit from Mutual Rescue literally has every single thing that you will be asked in a meeting with the powers that be. It's going to give you paperwork. It's going to give you literally everything you need. It's going to answer the questions about liability. It's going to give you information and paperwork that's already done so you don't have to recreate the wheel. Some water. Um, I guess there's my toolkit. Sorry.
Mm, no worries.
Um, I had like I said, I had the orientation for people, and it was a one-on-one thing. And after the program started to become more successful, we did larger orientations, and I tried to do those as often as I could. And, we would get groups at first of like 20 to 15 to 20 people. And then eventually, one time we had over 150 people. And then we moved to our new building, and that orientation had over 200 people. I think it was like 233. So this is something people want to do. They want to help dogs get out of the shelter. They want to make shelter dogs smile, is what I really like to say, because of that, the impact it has on the animals, but also as the individual, the impact it has on them. I remember a lot of the times with field trips, one of the hardest parts was getting other staff members to be able to help with that, because if you're a municipal shelter, you know how short staffed you usually always are. So it was usually me harnessing and leashing up every single dog for a field trip, because staff was doing all the other things, vaccinating dogs and putting away cats and things like that. But getting staff to buy in initially with them taking dogs on field trips first was, I think really helped with some culture change at our shelter, which continues to be something that our shelter needs to work on. But the idea was, if you could get everyone to buy into this program at the shelter, then it would be successful, because how could it fail? Um, So I would encourage you to say yes more. The offsite orientations, I did those a lot. I did a couple of schools, colleges, not just schools. So they were over 18. Um, I This was in the Bellarmine University men's basketball locker room. We held a field trip orientation in there for them, and a couple of them did come back and get dogs. Um, but the last minute in-person orientations, I think one of the biggest things I regret is not allowing more people to just come in and get dogs. That was something that we decided on as a team, that people needed to hold or have some type of orientation. They couldn't just come in and get a dog and leave. So I wish that we would have allowed that more. So we just had in person, usually impromptu things, scheduling those and ahead of time, I think kind of limited the amount of dogs I could get out. But I just don't make people jump through hoops to help it, because they want to help. We just have to let them. Sorry, to figure out how I can stop seeing myself, because it's really getting to me. Okay. If I always say, if you don't tell them, how will they know? A big part of what built the Foster Me Louisville movement, is social media. It was the connections that we built through social media. Um, so I would post everything all the time, what we needed. Um, if we needed a foster for ringworm kittens, I would post it right away. If we needed a dog that was, going kennel crazy to get out for a few hours, I would post it right away. I was always posting in our private group and asking and telling people what the shelter needed, because it empowers them to want to help you, and there's something everyone can help with. So by telling the people what you need, posting out your foster pictures, posting out the dogs and cats that need to get out, telling people what dogs are having the hardest time, is really going to help you, with that, with the idea that they're a part of this, and that's how you're going to nourish and grow the program. You want to connect with them. Don't write them off if they have questions. I know that sometimes we're so busy. I struggled with that a lot as the foster coordinator. was thinking I was too busy to engage and interact with the families that fostered for us. And I had uh, a big change of heart, and I tried to focus more on uh, nourishing and growing these relationships because they were, literally saving these lives with no, no strings attached. They were just coming to get dogs, and they were definitely deserving of an ear when they needed to talk. So engage with them about their lives. The person in this picture, her name is Desi. She and her family started they came to a field trip orientation. It was her mom, her and her little brother, or her older brother. But they were both, I think she was like 7 and he was 8. But they were young. And I encourage parents to bring their kids because, why not? People always want to know how the dogs are with kids. But Desi has been doing field trips with her mom ever since then. I think she just turned 16 or 17 this year. And I still stay in touch with Desi and her mom because of the field trip program. And I could tell you numerous relationships that I have like that with the Fosters um, because of the connection that we built initially through social media. So that is something I use was our private group, which is our LMAS staff, volunteers and fosters. I'm assuming everyone who is in animal welfare has a group like this for your volunteers and fosters. So I'm not trying to hammer that into you. You already have it. But this is just where all the information that I needed was. Anytime I needed, or currently, if I need pictures and videos, it's all found here. We encourage the fosters and volunteers to post pictures of everything, all their field trips, so we can share all of that and give the dogs to show that these are just normal dogs and not just shelter dogs. So all the pictures and videos from their field trips, we want there. And just some engagement that this is some old stuff that I used just to show some engagement. I would try to engage a lot on social media. Um, Definitely would tell people how thankful I am for them because the mental load of shelter work is hard. So when the people invite that into their lives by fostering and volunteering, it's really important to tell them how appreciative you are of them. Um, and engaging with field trip stuff, we tried to do some field trip picture like competition type things where we did fall pictures and unique pictures. So just always trying to engage. And anytime somebody specific needed a day out, we would post that in there. Um, we got new harnesses and asked people to come. Sorry, gosh, whoops. Just constantly inviting people to come and telling them what we need. Because if you don't tell them what you need, how will they know? Um, that was one of our orientations that I think had like 150 people. It was really cool. But the dogs that we're saving through this program are, you know, medium to large dogs, aka pit bull type dogs. And that was the whole idea for me in this program was I wanted to save those dogs because those are the dogs that I love. I love all dogs, but they needed it and still do. So for marketing with foster stuff, I do try to keep marketing. Now in my current role as the public information officer, I do our social media, and I try to use all the resources available to me. I don't need to rebuild the wheel. Yes, having unique ideas is super important, but it's also important to share ideas with animal welfare. It's hard everywhere, so why not share some ideas? Rachel at the shelter has great videos for everything. Obviously, Maddie's University has so much information, and then some other, Richmond Animal Care and Control have an amazing social media, and I like to follow these places. So not only can get ideas, but you can kind of see that you're not alone and the need is great everywhere, even though we all know that. But, when you're full, someone else is also full and you're kind of sharing that in with them. So keep it simple. Just like I said, use your resources, father other shelters like yours, and don't be afraid to be a little weird and strange to get attention for shelter pets. we really like naming shelter pets weird things. I know a lot of people are doing that, and I think that's awesome. This is something we do, or something I do for fosters. Volunteers can do this too, but specifically, if your foster needs a shout out, we have a social media request form where the foster families can fill out really basic information. It's literally just the dog's name, a couple interesting things about them, and pictures and videos. And then I'll just try to put something together to post it because we want to market our fosters. And I think a lot of times on social media, we forget that all the pets we have in foster also need to be marketed to find homes. So this form down here helps me do that and helps staff, fosters and volunteers um, give us that reminder. Um, I also like to post in our group a lot of information about how they can market their foster and things that they can do to help increase their foster's adoptability. A lot of stuff, Maddie's Fund, there's a Finn on here. Um, I think Kristen and on Kelly on this one, but I just try to give them all the information they need so we can all work together to be successful for the pet. And this is just some ideas, just some posts that involve foster stuff. I share our link tree with every post because it is just a landing page for all the things. So every time we're using social media, someone has the ability to click on that link and sign up to foster, as well as do some other things. Just some more foster engagement. I do try to involve fostering at least once a day. I think I know fostering is one of the most important parts of animal sheltering is for the pets to be in homes. So we need to work with our foster families to do that. Um, yeah, we post urgent dogs and offer them for foster. We offer foster to adopt with most of our posts as well. Again, these are just some examples of some posts, and I don't know if I'm moving this stuff along too quickly. To be quite honest, I am like a lot more nervous than I thought I would be. And I don't know that I've taken a breath, and
Don't worry, don't worry. You're doing a great job. I
I have
really.
like 3 slides left. I don't know what time it is.
3:22.
A lot.
No worries. We actually have a good amount of questions, so we're
Okay.
good either way. You're doing
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. This is our link tree. I had a lot more stuff in my notes written down, guys. I thought that I would just I want to tell you that what I know to be true about animals in shelters, I learned because I was able to do this apprenticeship. So I want to encourage you that if you haven't done something like that, you should look into that with Maddie's Fund. Um, if you need that validation that, yeah, you know that your shelter could be doing all these things differently, but you're not allowed to yet, you know, the toolkit, getting all that information, that the Mutual Rescue Toolkit is going to benefit you so much for a program like field trips. But um, I recommend using something like a link tree to have a one-stop shop for all your things. It gives you people the opportunity to go right to what they want to see. Hopefully, they're clicking the things like fostering and volunteering and adopting. But I want to always make foster applying for fostering accessible, and that's why I want to share it in everything we do. Yes. This is just a little video of just some of the stuff, the hashtag Foster Me Louisville on our Instagram. I had one on our Facebook too, but there was, I think it was over 4,000 posts made for this hashtag on Instagram, and a little bit, probably the same on Facebook. But I just pushed this so hard with our fosters initially. I put it in our foster care guide, that anytime you talked about having an animal with Metro Animal Services, post that hashtag Foster Be Louisville so we can rebrand our foster program to get people more excited about hanging out with shelter pets, and that the shelter isn't always the saddest place to be, and that they can come in and get a dog and make that dog feel really good and then take it home. And some of them never bring them back. We got a lot of adoptions that way, and I have a lot of fosters that way. So if you don't have a hashtag, I would recommend doing that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be simple as, foster me Louisville. And I think you should use foster me, whatever city you're in. So yeah, I think this goes on for a little bit. So, and that is my presentation. And I'm very sorry it was not as long as I was hoping. But yeah, if you're here, then you're doing great work, and I know you are. And I appreciate every single one of you for taking time out of your day to listen to what I have to say. And I hope that you got something from it. I hope one of the biggest takeaways that you get is that what you believe to be true probably is true. Find the people that have that same mindset and validate that and save more dogs, because just because people maybe at your work or at your rescue around you don't share the values and ideas of saving a certain type of dog, they're definitely worth saving. So find the people who want to do that. And I'm definitely one of those people. So if you want to engage after this, you are more than welcome to add me on. I put my Facebook on there and my email and my LinkedIn. And I would be honored if any of you wanted to talk later. So
Awesome.
sure.
I have never seen so many hearts and thumbs up in my life on one Zoom meeting. So I'm just going to say, like, first of all, everybody here is just amazing. And we really, y'all are awesome. We'll get to some questions. First, two things. One is if you're looking to see really, really good foster marketing, an organization that's talking about foster every day, working it into different posts, bringing in stories about pets in foster and field trips and everything, definitely look at Louisville Metro Animal Services, because Stephanie is just doing an amazing job at working foster into like the fabric of the whole organization.
Yep.
And the other thing, okay, I'll do. There was a question. Are there any foster grants that you recommend? And Stephanie, I'll let you go first, but I have one.
Yeah, it's probably the one that we got from Maddie's. We got Metro Animal Services got a grant initially to start this, where we bought all of our supplies, and it was through Maddie's fund. Uh, the moral of this is Maddie's fund everything all day. Maddie's fund. So if anything, they have it. So Kelly, take it away.
So I think that so we have it's not a Maddie's Fund grant technically, but it is like a, what do you call it? Like a collaboration with Pet Finder Foundation. And so if you take our courses on short-term foster or adult dog foster, you're eligible to win a grant from Pet Finder Foundation. I think it's up to $1,000 for your field trip or sleepover program. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. All right. Um, what are some metrics or outcomes used to evaluate foster to adopt programs? Do you do foster to adopt?
We did when I was the foster coordinator. We still sort of do. It's a little bit different now. Um, I don't have the answer to that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I could look
No
into
worries.
it. Um, but we track it in Chameleon. So if um someone does adopt, is that what you're asking? I'm sorry. If they adopt from foster, or just
Like,
how
yeah, like
many?
how do you judge the success of your program, basically? I think.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess maybe not so much adoptions are success specifically. I mean, yes, adoptions are the goal, but I think there's a lot of different ways to gauge success in a program like field trips. We increased our or decreased our behavioral euthanasia um, by a lot, just by getting dogs out of their kennels, and I think that measures a huge success of the program in itself. But yeah, a lot of people took dogs out and adopted them. I think I think actually the study that Kelly linked in there, it talks about the so it was a talks about that.
Yeah, it does talk about the percentages. I would say the percentage of people who end up following through with the adoption, but also the percentage of dogs who end up actually coming back to the shelter, because I bet that even when people don't adopt, they often keep the pets at their home, and so it can be kind of beneficial for them. Um, all right, Stephanie, please share a tiny bit of your shelter stats today. Daily, how many dogs and cats in foster overall in your program? Do you 2024 number of pets in foster? Are they provided pet nutrition, food supply, and supplies like puppy pads and cat litter? Um, More about food. And thank you and well done, PowerPoint.
Okay. Uh,
I should have
okay,
given you one at a time. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. I actually have it open so I can read it. So I'm going to start with the last question of this one. Is our foster volunteers provided with all the things? Yes. So I we provide everything, all the necessities that the pet would need, specifically leash, collar, harness, food, treats if we have them, cat litter if we have it, um, toys, beds, blankets, cleaning supplies, anything the foster asks for. If it's in our shelter, we'll give it to them. Um, how many dogs and cats in foster overall in 2004? Unfortunately, I don't have that exact number. I know it was, I think, a little over 1,100 in 2024, but I was not the foster coordinator that year. I do have those stats, just I did not do that part. Um, I think that's tell us more about food. Like the food we feed or give to fosters is usually a mixture of donated food and then food that comes out of a specific budget with our municipal shelter. Um, the fostering has a budget, but I think the food comes out of just the general animal care budget.
Oh. And keep in mind when she started this program, like there were no dogs in foster. Like dogs did not go. So she went from zero to where they are now. Um, you know what? Before the next one, can you tell us a little about, your Louisville Urgent Pets group? I think it's like the coolest thing ever. Um, just kind of like tell us maybe how that just like what it is and how it came to be, basically.
Um, the Louisville Urgent Pets Group specifically, it was started by volunteers and fosters of the shelter. I don't have any sort of direct role in it besides that I appreciate and follow everything they do on there because they actually one of them I don't Megan posted in the chat. She is actually the one I sent you the stats on that does the stray fostering please. But the Louisville Urgent Pets posts, the volunteers gather all the dogs that we have as urgent and post them nonstop for foster. And then people who find stray pets will stray foster them, and they'll post all of them all day asking for stray foster. They work hard to keep pets out of the shelter in that group. Um, and they're just doing it because they want to save animals. So it's a really good group. They have a lot of success marketing strays for foster and urgent dogs for foster in that group.
Um, what is your take on fosters with resident dogs? I always recommend a 2 week acclimation period, but most of their dogs are only dog homes.
Resident dogs. So what our foster care guide says and what our policies say for you to do is that 2 week acclimation period, something like that, is to keep them separated. But realistically, what people are going to do is not that. They're most definitely going to put them together pretty quickly. So I think the best thing that I did was give them the tools on how to do something like that successfully. If they're not going to wait to integrate and acclimate, then let's give them the best guideline on how to introduce the dogs properly. So we send them with a best friends how to introduce dogs document, and it tells them how to, parallel walk dogs and things like that. And if they choose to wait, great. If they choose not to, when something happens, the dog can always come back to us. But we do try to make it pretty apparent that they're responsible for this dog, and they need to be conscious of the things they're doing that could affect this dog in the long run, like allowing the dogs to meet too quickly, getting into a fight, there being a bite during a breakup, and then our shelter dog having to, eventually die because of that. So we do try to hammer in those rules. But I guess I would find it hard to believe that most of your dogs are only dog homes. I think maybe they might be more dog selective. Um, and I would encourage you to explore that a little bit more and see if they could be around different types of dogs. Just because they didn't have one or two good interactions with another dog, I wouldn't say they're only dogs. So consider that. But thank you.
We've had a couple of requests for the PowerPoint. If you're comfortable sharing that. And also, would you be able to share your foster guides, handouts, and forms? We can, if you want to send them to me afterward, we can, what do you call it? Post them. So we have a thread on Maddie's Pet Forum where we'll post the recording and all of the things, and I'll take whatever, all of the links we've posted here and stuff and put them there so that everybody has them. And I will I'll put this link below in just a moment. Tips for retaining repeat fosters.
Tips for retaining repeat fosters. Make the experience as enjoyable as it can be. Make yourself accessible to what they need. I know it's hard to have um, personalized relationships with every single foster, but it is important to make ourselves available when they need us to talk about their fosters. Um, Encourage them and uplift them. Make sure that when they're coming to your shelter that other staff are also doing the same. Make sure when they're having their vet appointments that the vet staff is also doing the same. Being kind and uplifting, I think, um, is very helpful. I've noticed one of the biggest ways to lose a foster is from shelter staff having a bad day, and it may be taken out on that foster. That's a good way to lose them. So I think focusing on uplifting and being positive with them is going to retain them. Just encourage your coworkers to treat your fosters with the red carpet because they're saving animals and getting them out of your shelter. Um, if if I were in charge, it would be an SOP that fosters were treated with, you know, they would treated differently than everybody else. Fosters and volunteers are on a pedestal because they're doing all the things that we can't do, and they're doing it for free. So,
Um, I know it's recommended to talk about foster every day, but how would you recommend this be accomplished in social media posts done by the shelters, and how do you do it?
um, the easiest way to do it is to have the word foster in every post by creating just a little end tag, which is what I do. It's visit our landing page for more information about fostering, volunteering, adoptions, animal control, yada yada. And I have our link tree down there. That's the easiest way I could tell you is by putting the word foster in every single communication. But also, if you center what you're doing around fostering, it would be really easy because every dog or cat you post about, you could say, and this dog or cat would love to go to foster, or and is looking for a foster or adoptive home. Um, you obviously would want to share what your fosters are sharing with you, and the field trip stuff. It's super easy to include, encouraging people to want to foster by sharing other people's experiences and showing them that any person can foster. So having all types of different people on your social media, you know, older people, kids, people with kids, all the things that people experience, there's likely a fit for them, but they need to see that inclusion, I think. So try to market that, market the we have a few foster families with children with special needs, and they have no problem with us sharing pictures of their kiddos. So we like to do that too because children with special needs can be around pets, and we should tell people that more. So that is how I would say introduce fostering into your social media is just make it part of your everyday language. There's no reason why every pet that's posted shouldn't be available for foster, but also make sure your foster team's okay with that.
Awesome. And just kind of to go along with this, y'all have a really, really engaged Facebook group of fosters and volunteers. I can't remember.
Yes.
But like, what are a couple of things that you do to make that engagement high? And how you and like how you use that in main social media posts.
Oh, yeah, so I tell them what I need. I tell them what I want them to do. I tell them I'm just like, "Hey, you guys, our engagement." I just get in this Facebook group and I say exactly what I feel. I say, "Hey, our engagement is low today," or "In order for us to save more dogs, we need you to engage with our social media because it's so easy to do. Anybody that uses social media can do it. And if you are um, a shelter or an organization that covers all the platforms of TikTok and all of them, Facebook and Instagram and all the things, then you should have no problem finding someone to fit every need of every platform to being able to comment or like the post or share the post. We have a little crew of our fosters and volunteers that just will go on every single post we make and they'll just say, you know, something real ordinary. They'll post a gif. It'll be anything, but that engagement benefits our animals, and it's something anybody can do. So it's really easy. Just tell them what you want. Post an urgent dog and say, "Hey, you all, please engage with this post." Tell them how to do it. Um, Try to manipulate the algorithms a little bit by not using words like share. Maybe use a three for the E, just to kind of trick them into. I don't know. It's computer stuff. I'm told it makes a difference. But just tell them that you need engagement and tell them how to do it. Tell them to go to your Facebook, to go to your Instagram, and to comment and click and share and all the things.
And Ken has a great question. So, what does the success of your program mean for dogs coming into your care before, compared to those before the program? And make sure to, I'm think this is my add-on is that the way that the way the shelter was set up and the way that dogs went. I just explain if you don't mind explaining the way that dogs went to the adoption because I think that just kind of like really it's important.
In 2017, right? We want to talk about then. Yeah, okay. When I first started there, we were killing dogs for time and space. Um, so it wasn't just behavior stuff; it was also time and space. So behavior dogs were pretty much, being euthanized at a higher rate in general, and they weren't given the opportunity to go to foster. Um, as much. There were some behavior dogs in foster because staff had them, but there wasn't the urgency to expand that to a broader group of people to save more lives. And I know that going to Austin and meeting Kelly and Kristen and learning more about Maddie's fund and Sarah, and that gave me the initiative to change the program to save those dogs that um, might not hold on, I'm sorry, that might not have been able to even had a chance before, right? So I think that dogs coming into the shelter now have a better chance. Dogs with minor potentially behavior problems have a better chance of leaving the shelter now because in shelter behavior because of programs like fostering and field tripping. Does that answer the question? I feel like it does.
Yeah. Mhm. Absolutely. And I believe you had in a slide in the back, but their behavioral euthanasia was cut in half the first year of the program, which is just absolutely amazing. Um, how do you handle after shelter hours foster emergencies? Um, and she says I don't think we discussed. She says she's sorry if she already if you've already been asked.
Oh yeah. We when first started, I was the only one who did all the foster emergency after calls, after hour calls. Whew, I don't miss those days. Uh, but I just had a work cell phone where I gave it to fosters for emergencies and tried to have parameters on what are emergencies. It's not always just life or death that's an emergency, right? There could be other things like broken limbs and stuff. But I they just had guidelines on what an emergency is what is considered an emergency and when to call and when to email. And I being the person I am, I was very good about putting those boundaries up early to let people know that this isn't a true emergency. You need to email. That helped me stay a little bit sane, I believe. Now, our foster program has two foster coordinators. So they share the load of after call, on call. They're just on call during the week. So if fosters have an emergency, they can call or text them. We have emergency emergency vet clinics in the area they would go to if it's a true emergency.
Awesome. We have one more question, but I want to put out here a couple of things in the chat. Julie Lenny says, I believe the growth and sustainability of your program is the best success measurement. Your work is so inspiring. I personally don't think adoptions is the only success matrix. And Ken says, you are directly saving dogs' lives, which is absolutely
You
true.
guys.
Um, do you process field trip fosters with the same application as the traditional long-term fosters?
When I started the program, uh, no, because we had orientation. So they foster applications for long-term foster. If you are already a foster parent at the time, you were already approved to field trip foster. All you had to do was listen to me talk about safety for a minute. You didn't have to sign anything new. If you were not a foster and you only signed up for field trips, you could also foster long term. I would just need a little bit. I would just ask for a little bit more information. But I wouldn't make you fill out a bunch more stuff. Our field trips now are no longer under our foster coordinators. It's under our volunteer coordinator. So it's an all the volunteer orientation includes field trip fostering, field trip days out, all the things. Um, so if you sign up to volunteer, your orientation includes that. So now if you sign up to foster, you're not automatically signed up to field trip foster. So it's a little different because I don't run those programs anymore. And they're still doing really well how they are now, but is a little different.
Awesome. Do we have any more questions? I'll give everybody a second. Um, we might be good. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And thanks to everybody who's watching this today.